Giddy up for the next 2 hours. The Kyproes, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee, Derek Brandeo, and David Sis. Boom, bah. This is the Leaf edition of the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. We are live on Sportsnet 590, Sportsnet 360, Sportsnet Plus from 4 to 6. Download us if you don't catch us live on any of your favorite pods. And text us at 590 as we shorten the week because we are off the air for a Blue Jay game tomorrow.
You can't miss the Blue Jays.
I'm not sure people will be real happy to hear that, especially with their cold bats. In fact, yesterday was only the 11th time in history that the Blue Jays, the Leafs, and the Raptors all lost at the same time.
Do you know that every single player on the Leafs had a hit last night? And you can't say the same for the Blue Jays? I believe one person had a hit.
The Toronto Raptors lost by 48 points last night.
40.
133 to 85 was the final score of that match. The Blue Jays are the first team in the modern MLB history since 1901 to be victimized by a no-hitter and a one-hitter in the first 7 games of a season. So, hot start.
Is it really being victimized when you do it to yourself?
Yeah, I guess you're right. Also a programming note. So we're off Friday. And then Monday, if you listen to us on Sportsnet 590 The Fan or listen to us out in Calgary or in Vancouver, we're 2 to 4 on Monday because of the home opener. So
2 to 4 on Monday.
Yeah, lots of moving parts due to the Toronto Blue Jays. So we are 2 to 4 Monday.
I had a veteran news reporter tell me to tell you that it's Calgary.
What'd I say?
You say Calgary.
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 I'm not from there. I say it like people from Calgary. People from Calgary probably say Toronto. Toronto.
They do.
It's Toronto, right?
Toronto.
So I'm supposed to say Calgary?
Calgary.
Calgary. Okay.
Detroit.
Sorry, Calgary.
Did you really expect him to say, okay, thanks for letting me know?
No chance.
No chance.
That's why I
No
did it on
chance.
air and not off air.
Very good point. I was at the game last night. Always mixed feelings about going because how
There's no rewind button in person, is
a
there?
little bit of a sideshow. I love our alumni
That was
box.
the salmon.
No roasted chicken last night.
Oh, nice.
Yes. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. But good energy.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people feeling like there's some real life out of the Toronto Maple Leafs. I know they were disappointed with a 4-1 loss last night, but you also got a team full of future Hall of Famers on the other side that look like they're not ready to give up on an incredible run so far.
Don't want to draw that team in playoffs, eh?
Trust tree time, boys.
Oh, here we go. We're in the tree.
That might be the best team in the East.
In the East.
Okay, what happened here? What happened? We spent 85% of the season talking about the Florida Panthers being the team to beat. And now Sammy comes in with ditch the Panthers.
First
ditch
off,
the
Carolina
Cats,
is the best team in the East.
and let's go with the Tampa Bay Lightning.
What? No way.
I will say, if Tampa Bay were to play Boston, which right now that would be the matchup in round 1, I don't know who the favorite would be. Truly don't even know.
According to books, it would probably be Boston just because they have the better record. They've had a better year.
They've
So-
been garbage.
yeah, for sure. So they'd probably be like, minus 110 favorites for that series.
Yeah.
Like it wouldn't be a big thing.
It's a real coin toss, and I think you'd be a fool to bet the Bruins there.
If I'm looking at the way the two teams that I just watched, I watched Florida on Monday, who looked tired, disorganized, bad defensively, let in 6, did not look great. And then I watched 2 days later, that Tampa team with, they gave up a few shots and but then weren't really in the middle of the ice. The way Vasilevsky looks, the way their top guys look, there's no question in my mind who's a better team. No question.
Tampa Bay Lightning.
Let's
Well,
start
you
with
guys
you.
think I'm crazy?
No, we'll get into that. We'll get into it a little bit
Okay.
more as we describe
Yeah.
what we saw last night out
Florida's a
of the
mess,
Leafs
but yes.
and Tampa Bay. We got close to an hour here, so spread it out a little bit. Sprinkle the infield or the outfield on.
Just sprinkle it everywhere.
Sprinkle. Did Toronto give them a fair fight last night, other than the obvious physicalities?
I thought that, Ryan Reeves made some statements, right, with some physical play, the fight, but also the hits. He was all over him. I did think that the Leafs just struggled to get inside. They've been so good offensively. I think they're the number one. They scored the most goals in February in the NHL, the most goals in March in the NHL. And last night, I didn't feel like they got shots, but they didn't get to the dangerous areas quite as much. Tampa, we know, has some finishers. Joseph Woll wasn't awesome. Otherwise, a fairly even game for me.
I thought they played really well in the first period. I thought it was...
Third period was disappointing.
Yeah, and I thought they were pretty good in the second, too. Loved the special team stuff, right? Like, I thought their power play got one, right? The Matthews goal's a power play goal?
It did.
Yeah.
It wasn't a
set up
like
and
it wasn't like
it was a goal on the power play, not a power play goal.
Yeah.
It's a set play off of a winning draw.
Yeah.
Right? It's not the power play looks good. They're snapping it around. Right. Everybody's getting involved. Good touches.
But the PK, 17 straight now, since I said they'd get better.
All right, let's go to Sheldon Keefe. We'll get
you didn't say
Sheldon's.
get better. You said it doesn't matter.
No, I did write that there's reason to believe it's going to get better.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sheldon Keefe with our first Kypers Clipper on the overview of what he saw last night.
Like lots about our first period defensively was outstanding. Didn't give up a shot for the first 10 minutes of the game. So that was really good. Penalty kill was outstanding tonight, against the toughest challenge in the league. You win a special teams battle tonight against from look at power play penalty kill perspective, it's, right at the top of the league in terms of the challenge on special teams. And we win the special teams battle tonight. When you do that against this team, you're putting yourself in a pretty good spot to win the game, which ultimately I think we were in a pretty good spot to win the game, but we made a few more mistakes than they did. They played a really good, smart defensive game, didn't give us a lot. When we did get to their net, the goalie was outstanding, but we didn't get there enough, and then we made some mistakes that they capitalized on, right? We leave Point open alone at the net. We give Stamkos a 2-on-1. That ultimately really is the difference in the game.
I've got a take. And my take is that, is it Guy Boucher who's running the power play?
Yep.
Pretty crummy job since Mitch Marner's been out. I think most of us could have handled a power play unit with Matthews, Marner, Nylander, Tavares, Morgan, Riley, thrown it over the boards, told them where to stand, and had a 20+% power play. It's a challenge once you lose one of those guys and you have to adapt and fill guys in and sort of find new ways to utilize these guys. And, they shoot one in last night, but that's not really a power play goal. But for weeks now, it's like he hasn't come up with any plan, any sort of hasn't looked threatening at all. Am I way off and thinking there's some coaching involved here?
Yes. And to be quite honest with you, and I know the percentage overall has always looked very healthy.
Yeah.
But there's times when I've watched it with Mitch Marner on it, and I still think it looks terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know whether or not it's just, whoever's sending the message. Is it Guy Boucher? Ultimately, it has to fall on Sheldon Keefe. Mm-hmm. He's the head coach.
Yeah.
So something's not right there. To me, it's still a bunch of very talented guys that are looking untalented on it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you watch Tampa's, it's just every guy, and they're good too. But don't get me wrong, the Leafs have amazing talent on theirs.
They do.
But when you watch Tampa's, every guy knows exactly what their role is on it.
The rotation on it, and again, the first goal wasn't a power play goal, but they managed to pull the goalie, get the extra attacker out there, and make it look like a fabulous power play. Yeah. It was essentially a power play goal because
that Hedman shot, who has that for the Leafs? I guess Riley could conceivably snap one top corner from the point, but I haven't seen it this year.
It was not the shot; it was the rotation and then the traffic enough that it wasn't a blistering shot. It wasn't a typical hammered from the blue line. It was a good shot that was timed perfectly to get some traffic in front of Joseph Woll. But the amount of time that the puck spends on a Maple Leaf stick compared to the time it spends on a Tampa Bay is night and day. One's a split second, and the other one's you need an egg timer.
I tell you what, there's nothing more scary if you're rooting for the Leafs then when Kucherov does the fake shot pass into the bumper and your goalie is fully squared up for the one-timer, like, I mean, we've talked about it 100 times, but it's just such a dangerous play.
Well, the thing, me talking about the rolls, is that they have Point in the bumper, but then you can go.
His handedness works.
But you can also have Kucherov where he's opening up to where it looks like he's going to go to the bumper, and you got one of the best one-timer guys of all time on the half boards where you can fire it out wide and he can hammer it to Stamkos. It's like there's just two
they're made in a
really
lab.
great options for them.
Nylander's shown to haven't.
Not Stamkos, though, bud.
It's not
But
far
it's
off.
not it's not Stamkos. It's not the
Few people.
It's not a trademark one-time slap shot that we've seen over and over again, like we have with Stamkos or Ovechkin. But that guy can fire pucks off that pass. He can.
Mm-hmm.
But how many looks does he get with a good rotation, right, compared to the other guys? I mean,
Kucherov is one of the game's best passers.
I don't see Willie set up that way.
I can't remember Matthews ever going seam to him, flank to flank.
No.
You know, the way Kucherov will to Stamkos. But then again, I can't remember anyone popping from the bumper and taking one from Matthews either, right? Like he's generally shooting it or holding it and passing it down low or back to the top.
Yeah.
Somebody's dusting it off, and the rotation on the PK gets time to adjust, and then there's lanes taken away, and it's not one of three options. It's my only option.
The thing that kills me, though, Kip, is they used to flip them on their flanks, and Matthews would be on his other side to catch and shoot sometimes, to just mix it up a little bit. I haven't seen him anywhere outside of that, Ovi spot on the flip side for, I don't know, this year. So, yeah, I just think it's been stagnant, that's all, and that to me is a little bit of coaching.
Point and Kucherov.
I actually think Point is the most underrated guy in the league.
I think that's fine.
Because everyone always talks about, like, your favorite guys are Yossi and Barkov, but everyone says they're underrated. No one ever says Point's underrated, but when you have the conversation about the best guys in the league, no one ever brings up Point. And I think he's
if you're doing a who do you want in playoffs, he's
there's
way up there.
Like, he would be shockingly high on my list of guys I would take.
He looks so good. He looks
42
healthy.
goals this
he
year.
looks healthy. Remember this time last year, I think he was battered and bruised in and out, and played a key part of
that
Tampa
team
not winning.
Has drop-off, right? They have real drop-off where when they were winning cups, the drop-off was not as significant.
Mm-hmm.
There's guys out there, you're like, okay, that guy's whatever. But, yeah, those guys are still those guys. Meanwhile, Florida, Ekblad's hurt, may come back for playoffs. Verhaeghe's hurt, may come back for playoffs. Bobrovsky's
as good as Tampa looks, like, there's a drop-off after Hedman. Chernak looked good last night.
Yeah,
he did. But is he the second horse on this blue line right now? There is no Sergachev and there is no Ryan McDonough.
Yeah. No, that's there. You should, in theory, be able to get to the net, and the Leafs struggled to do that last night. So, what did you guys make of the goaltending? I think we've pretty much put to bed the playoff. Is there any debate left? Could it be swung, or is it all Samsonov now?
I mean,
he wasn't terrible, but he wasn't good.
Joseph Woll.
Yeah, last night. Sorry.
I didn't like him.
Yeah.
I don't like him. He's coming off 2.5 months.
The shot's great, but it shouldn't go in.
No, it should not go in.
Too deep.
Great shot.
Too deep.
Exactly.
That's it.
But he's coming off 2.5 months of a significant injury here, and doesn't appear like he's fast tracking to where he needs to be or want to be right now for this to be a healthy two-man kind of 1A, 1B feel.
Yeah.
It is now Samsonov's and a distant second, Joseph Woll. And does he get 2 more starts, 3 more starts? If they look anything like they did last night, I'm even questioning whether or not he should back up.
No, see, that's a bridge too far. It's like I was talking to my guy Steven Zorbas, fellow Greek guy of yours, and we were talking about how Woll is just such a confident guy that even if he's coming into a game 3, and he hasn't been playing well, he just has this belief and this confidence. Like, I would be okay with him going in, what he'd be able to do. He did it last year in Florida when he went in for them. His numbers are actually pretty good from that series last year. He wasn't terrible. So I'm fine with him being able to come off the bench, but there's no doubt at this point that it's going to be Samsonov in game one.
Can I ask you guys how, because this is something I was thinking about watching that game. Can I ask you how they handled him coming back from injury, where he starts his first starts against Phoenix, right? His first one back and where he plays well. But then it's like, sure, doing double Boston was the best way to handle a guy coming off of an 85-day injury? Like, are we sure that was it a baptism by fire, seeing if he can handle it? Were they test? Like, I'm just looking back in hindsight, of course, is 2020.
How do you,
but is that the right way to do it?
do you not feel like the Boston was his chance to kind of grab it?
Well, it felt like
and
they
roll with
saw
it?
him as the game one starter.
They were dying for him to grab
and
it.
it was like, hey,
And it didn't happen.
But he
No.
wasn't ready for it, maybe. Like we said,
Wasn't
he came
ready.
off of that, and like, sure, you're coming back, you've gone through all the tests, you're ready to go, you're healthy, you're in the lineup, you're eligible to play games.
Yeah.
But,
meanwhile,
big
at
ask.
that time, Samsonov was getting Washington
Yes.
and winning
Yep.
and feeling good about
Yeah.
himself. And maybe that would have been the way to go. But as you said, hindsight's 2020. At the time, I was like, do it, put him in the games.
All right, let's get Sheldon Keefe's thoughts on Joseph Woll, clip 4, Derek.
He doesn't get a shot for the first 10 minutes of the game, and then, it's a laser from the top with traffic from Hedman. And then it's a Braden Boyd left alone, and Stamkos in alone at 2-on-1. Like, those are some tough spots, but you probably need to save on one of those three, to keep us going, especially with the quality of goaltending at the other end. That's just the reality of the game. But he made a couple big saves once it was at 3 to keep it there and allow us to get a chance to stay in the game. So he did his job in that sense. But like I said, it's one of those games where, one or two mistakes our way, one or two saves their way. That's really what the game comes down to. And then we're playing from behind against a team that, plays smart, and it's a textbook third period from their perspective. And, it just shows that, playing from behind is bad recipe.
So Samsonov goes in Saturday night, or did you try to give Woll an easier game here?
Saturday is
Samsonov doesn't want to go.
Montreal.
Samsonov doesn't want to go full week without a game.
Yeah, and I think if you're in the mindset of getting this guy ready for game one, feeling good is a good thing, and going to Montreal and play well, that's I think you continue on with the tradesies for a bit here. So yesterday, we listened to a clip from Sheldon Keefe, and he talked about how he was intentionally putting a line in a tough circumstance, right? I think it was the Holmberg, Nyes,
and
Robertson line, and saying, and you had the lines yesterday about like, is now the time for this sort of thing? But I think he's trying to figure some things out with this team. Last night, Cuthbert and Simmer did a great job highlighting how Keefe was leaving out the fourth line, which is Reeves, Dewar, and Kampf. Dewar and Kampf presumably are going to be a part of a shutdown line. And this, to me, felt like a test. D-zone starts against the other team's first line, back-to-back faceoffs. Can you get it done? They get scored on.
And Simmer nails the call. He's like, well, I guess you got your answer. And I was like,
But it was great. He set the stage. He put the ball in the tee.
Yeah.
And then it got...
The only thing missing was like that sound from the game show where it goes...
Wah,
wah,
wah. But
Thanks for playing.
yeah, but that's even better. There you go. But it's still going to be Kampf and Dewar on a fourth line and a defensive assignment. I don't know if it's going to be Reeves or not, but Kampf was the guy last night who, left his guy a little bit.
And he's right there with Point down low.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear the clip about
Started chasing the puck. Yeah.
Yes, we
got
do.
that? Let's do
it?
it.
Clip 2.
Got to have some trust in some other guys. It's that time of the year. That line, to me, in the first period was our best line. We want to put them in a position. They had a couple shifts against that line in the first period that went extremely well for us. And I thought that Matthews and Tavares, because I've been kind of chasing the matchups, you come out of a power play not long before that, or a penalty kill, one of the two. It was a power play and needed another line. So, to me, that's, they're, especially right now where we're at, that's my third option in defensive situations. So we need to get through that. But, like I said, we're fine there. If Kampfer just holds at the net front, we would be okay there, but made a mistake.
That's my third option in defensive situations. Talking about Matthews, then Tavares, then Camp. That's interesting that he sees him as a third option.
Yeah, and listen, I applaud Ryan Reeves for the battle back to where he is today.
Yeah.
But there's just no world that I ever envision him being on the ice defensively when Kucherov and Point are on the ice.
And that's
no world.
That's what makes getting him into the lineup so hard in playoffs for me, is that he's going to have to play on a fourth line. You would like that fourth line to be a defensive shutdown type group, and you just can't have him out there chasing Kucherov and Point around.
But, we had Otzi on the show on Monday talking about the physicality in game ones and game threes, and if you're going up against Florida, to me, he has to be in the lineup game one. You're sacrificing whatever it is you're sacrificing with him to have him in there, to have a bit of a conscience.
Yeah.
No?
We're having a different conversation, though, right? We're talking about starting in the playoffs or being in a situation on the ice.
Yeah, he's not going to be.
But yeah, so to your point, though, I think he can be in the game and say, we're not going to start him in the D zone against Kucherov.
Ever.
But that's what's stupid about doing it last night, because you're never doing that anytime ever.
Well, you wonder if he's seeing, can I do this? Is this possible?
But you can't.
You clearly cannot.
What hockey, any hockey mind, you ask any hockey fan in the world, hey, do you think that's a good idea?
Yeah.
No.
But
will that ever work?
I mean,
no. Unless it hits a shin pad and bumps it out.
There's some things that Sheldon has done that's given Ryan Reeves some confidence here moving forward.
I do feel like that's part of it, right?
It may be, but does the whole team have to take one on the chin for that to happen?
I mean, no, but Camp doesn't have to leave his guy, and maybe they get through that shift. Maybe that's a bad bounce for old Revo there, who otherwise had a very good night.
Okay. Speaking of that, let's go to Sheldon Keefe on Ryan Reeves.
Well, tonight, was by far and away the most physical he's been in terms of just being able to get there on time, make the contacts, and have them be impactful contacts, that really, I thought, set a tone in the game. And then not just that, but we also got pucks back. Then he's getting to the net front. That line shooting pucks. That line was a real highlight for us in that first period. And Revo was leading the charge. So that's terrific to see. I thought it wasn't just that. I just thought after the whistles, too, he was a really strong presence in the game. And then obviously, handles himself extremely well in the fight. So, all those things, he certainly did his job tonight.
And he punch-sized that guy's face for free.
Yeah, that was
a really good tactical fight. He was waiting for Jeannot to throw, to get underneath and come over top.
Yeah, he's a professional. He's got the move that he does where he dips down with the overhand right that really catches guys, and it caught Jeannot pretty good.
In the next hour, top of the hour, we're going to welcome in Mike Rupp, NHL Network analyst. We're going to get, obviously, into the Devils and the Rangers last night with that opening shift.
Why, what happened?
162 penalty minutes.
Was anyone talking about it? Did it come up?
Didn't see anything.
But it did open up the debate again, wide open. Even last night, there's a lot of social media talk on the Ryan Reeves fight, up 3-1. It's in the third period. It's a little later.
The only talk is Jeannot shouldn't give him that
Did
fight.
we? Yeah. Well, whatever the case is, was it a meaningful fight? Was it a useless fight? Was it necessary? I'm sitting there going, Tanner Jeannot is a scary guy coming at you. And any time that you can get this guy out of the game, it's a good thing for the Toronto Maple Leafs. They got to go play him next week.
The game, you're looking for a pop of momentum. I don't hate that one.
Maybe not for sure. But again, you took a piece off of Tanner Jeannot last night. You got to go and play next week. We don't even know if he's going to play. If Tanner Jeannot's not ready to go play now game one in the playoffs, or you match up with them in the second round, it's a meaningful fight that doesn't have to just be in that moment or in that specific game.
Yeah, you're weeks from playoffs. Jeannot he left the game concussion protocol and didn't come back.
And they're a weaker club without him in the lineup.
Yeah. This is a competition.
You're preaching to the choir. Like, it was like, you're going to get a yes from me. I thought it was awesome. You see, I mean, my wife took an excellent video last night of the fight. I put out on Twitter. Tons of people told me her favorite player in the team's Ryan Reeves, and she got home for the game. I'm like, oh my God.
Oh boy.
I knew I married the right woman. And it was just like, let's go. And I don't know. Like, I loved it. And you see the fans react. Jeannot's asking them to fight. They're down 3-1. If they come back in that game, they get a goal. Everyone's like, see, it's meaningful.
Yeah.
Like, he has to take that fight. There's no way he
Reeves
doesn't.
does, for
of
sure.
course.
Yeah.
Jeannot giving it to him was surprising to me.
Well, actually, didn't Reeves say something post game about Jeannot being like?
He thought they were going to go earlier.
Oh, okay.
And then it happened later. But
We got a Ryan Reeves Kippers Clipper, don't we?
We do.
All right,
Would you like
let's
to
hear it.
Oh, man, I think that month and a half that I was out, I used that as a mini training camp. I worked hard. I bagged. I worked on everything that I could. I was doing 2-3 a day sometimes, and just trying to get confidence back. Confidence is a real thing, and that's the first time I've probably gone through something like that in my career where I just felt like nothing was going right, and I just felt like I had no confidence, and I just used that opportunity to try and build it back. And coming off of the break, I felt like my game started, getting a little bit better, and then just been building on it ever since.
Reeves has been north of 10 minutes in 4 of his last 8 games, which maybe doesn't sound consequential to people, but it's a lot for him. He was playing 6 minutes in the early season.
Felt like he was playing 3 some nights.
Yeah.
I don't know if I said it on this show or one of our Leaf telecasts, but the Leafs need Ryan Reeves like that last night more than they need Nick Robertson with a potential shot on goal. Like, there's just this week he hammers Mikkola.
Yeah.
He hammers Hedman. He carries significant weight
Dust Hedman. That was great.
in with the emotional aspect of a game. He keeps everybody on their toes. Like, that's what it's for. That's why you have a guy like that.
I don't know if it were game 6 and 7, series on the line if he's in, but I think to start the series, you certainly have him as a part of it.
Yes.
No question.
And
that's okay.
But if
which means a good player's watching game 1. Krager, Holmberg.
If he can maintain that energy and get in on a forecheck, he's playing game 6 and game 7 too.
Yeah.
You just need
He's
7 minutes of
definitely
that.
skating better. I remember a play earlier in the season where Nyes put one on his side and Reeves couldn't get to it. He just couldn't move. And right now he is getting in. Keith mentioned as much too, that he's actually getting to the puck, to the plays, turning them over because he's there on time. And on time was something he wasn't earlier in the season.
Anticipation of Mitch Marner playing Saturday night.
Yeah.
Where do you put him? If they decide to play him Saturday night.
If they've talked enough about it. They've talked to enough people about it and had enough
What do you think?
conversations.
Got enough permissions signed?
What do you think?
Well, what do you think? Is it back with Matthews?
I think I'd probably like to see Max Domi, Matthews, and Marner together.
Please. Has it happened? It's had one game, right? This year?
For a bit. Like, I don't even think it was for a full game. Like, I think he sort of tinkered to that at one point.
Let's just have a look-see here.
Is there any concern on what maybe a second line can look like? John Tavares is hit and miss some nights where he's on his game or the feet look a little heavy. I didn't like his game last night, but are you okay?
You quietly haven't liked his last few games.
Are you okay with Tavares locked in with Nylander on the second line?
I think some of the best. Well, first off, the team has really been rolling. Since the trade deadline, I think they're the best goal differential team. Them and Tampa, I think, are 1-2 in the league. So, they've been going okay in their current configuration. But I thought they played really good hockey when he centered a third line. When you had that kind of spread out attack, I still think it's like it hasn't worked where they've had the deep run and they've always been all in the top 2 lines. I still think I would like to see it spread out across 3 lines somehow between those 4 guys. However you want to do it, I don't know. But
So I don't necessarily want to break. I've liked McMahon a lot with Tavares and Nylander, but I think it's just pretty natural that if you're going to do Domi, Matthews, and Marner, you're just going to move Bertuzzi down to the McMahon spot, right? And then you just move McMahon down 1.
So you're looking at Bertuzzi, Tavares, Nylander?
Probably.
It's a very good line. Just, is it too many good guys? If you're trying to spread it out. I have a McMahon thought whenever you're done. What you're going to
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know that we're going to see. I still think he could shoot 1 or 2 in playoffs. I just don't know that we're going to see the impactful version of McMahon in a playoff series. There's been games this year where he drives it wide. His speed is on display. He gets a bunch of shots. You see him against a good team like Tampa last night, and the pressure mounts, and it gets hard, right? Like, there's a reason he has been a fringe guy till age 27. I think he can be a guy where if he gets a look, he'll shoot one in.
No,
he's going to be good. He's going to be
sweet boy Bobby. How dare you?
I just
How dare you?
know that he's going to be a 4-goal first-round guy for them.
Just to add that, remind yourself, too, that this guy's never played a playoff game in his life.
Right. It's a
big ask.
It's a big ask, and it's going to be fast hockey and intense and tight D. I just think he's a good player. In on the forecheck, he can kill penalties. He's useful even if he doesn't shoot one in. But we had a run of games here where he looked like one of the best offensive players on the Leafs. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that we can anticipate that happening in playoffs round 1.
One thought on the blue line for me is if I don't see significant growth in TJ Brody's game, all things being equal, everybody's healthy going into game 1. He is my 7th defenseman.
Wow. How'd we end up here?
I think it's a completely fair thought.
Is that Liljegren in?
Liljegren would be in if he's healthy.
Yeah.
Just because
Edmondson, Liljegren, third pair, Benoit McCabe, Riley
is
Labushkin.
in all day long. It's not even a contest for me between Benoit and TJ Brody.
You can't have Benoit out.
No.
He had 11 hits last night.
He was all over it again. I love the way he plays. And it's crazy that we're having this conversation, and I wish I could push back on you, but you're right, unfortunately.
Brody's been over 20 minutes. He was over 20 minutes again last night. He's looking better than before the healthy scratches. I know. But if he's not the reliable guy he once was, what's his role? Even last night, right? They played him third pair by and large, but they still trust him out there 20-some minutes. So
he was played 23-42 against Florida.
I wonder if Liljegren's not out, if his injury didn't hurt him here. Because they tried after the trade deadline to be like, nope, Liljegren's in. Right D, he's a right shot. He's going to stay in. They gave him every look. They put him on the power play. He got hurt again. I just don't know that this injury is not going to cost him a spot.
Okay, let's take a quick break. When we return, Jim Ralphie. No Zoom call with Ralphie.
Never.
We just need to talk to Jimmy.
He doesn't want to see he doesn't want to show everybody he's lit up a dart, I guess.
He can smoke and talk to us on camera. It's fine.
I don't want to lose Ralphie, and I just don't want to fight with him anymore about the Zoom, so I want to have him on.
Yes.
We're doing fun.
I want to see his face.
Okay, well, we'll have him in studio one day.
We will. All right. Jim Ralph, Toronto Maple Leaf radio color analyst, will join us when we return to Real Kyper and Bourne. As promised before the break, let's welcome in Jim Ralph, Toronto Maple Leaf radio color analyst. Good friend of the show. Ralphie, what's going on?
Not a lot. Kyper, Bourne, how you guys doing?
We're good.
Yeah.
Just like you, grinding.
Getting to the end here, pal.
Right to the end. Almost. Ralphie, right to the end, pal. What do you make of the week between the Florida Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning last night? Good results against one team. Not so great last night, but overall, the feel of what the Leafs got out of these last 2 games.
Yeah, I even go back, to the Edmonton, Carolina back-to-back, Skipper. I think and they have that emotional win over Edmonton on Saturday night, and then you've got to follow it up with Carolina. And I sort of looked at it with, so many thought that the Leafs can't handle Florida, that they're not tough enough. And then you get the win over Florida, then whether there should have been or not, there seemed to be a letdown again the next night. So I think overall it's been positive. I think there's obviously some question marks still there. I don't think Joseph Woll is back to anywhere near he was before the injury. And, talking to the guys from the broadcasters from Tampa, they said, it took Vasilevsky a good, 2.5 months to get back to where he is right now. So I think that's expected, but it's going to be interesting to see what mixes and matches, line combinations, defense pairings, they're going to come up with for game 1.
Yeah, that seems like all that's left on the table is basically who's going to play with who when you head into that matchup. Seems like, go ahead there.
I was just going to follow up with the Joseph Woll comment because we had just talked, a little while ago, Ralphie. If it takes Joseph Woll the time that you're suggesting that Vasilevsky took, there's not enough time here. Would you consider, if there isn't vast improvement in his game in the next half a dozen starts, that you would think about Martin Jones backing up?
No, I don't think I'd go there. Just, because what we've seen of Joseph Woll and what he's capable of doing, I think right now that's enough for me as he, kind of works his way back. By the way, the game in Carolina was probably his best game coming back, and that was a 2-1 loss. But because I think now he's 2-5 since the injury. But in fairness to him, in 4 of the 5 losses, they only scored a single goal. So that's if they win 4-3 last night, we're not talking about the 5-hole goal or the long shot on the screen. You're just talking about how Austin Matthews saves you again. So I think when you look at the record and everything else, that's got to factor in that he's just been getting starts when they haven't had any offense, even the back-to-back 4-1 losses to Boston. So it's easy to kind of critique every goal and every mistake because they were obviously costly, but you're not getting the offense at the other side either.
Ralphie, I think this Leafs team is the biggest mystery to me of the recent teams that have headed into playoffs. Like, I had stretches earlier in the season where I thought they were definitely worse than previous years. I've had recent stretches where I think that maybe there's more there, like the support crew seems a little bit stronger. Where do you stand on what this team is compared to the teams they've taken into playoffs the past few years?
Oh, I'm right with you, Barney.
Yeah.
So like as soon as you're ready to quit and say that's it, they're worse than they were before. And I know that like a defining moment for me was I remember when Riley took the penalty and then got suspended after the game in Ottawa, another loss in Ottawa. Mm-hmm. And you started looking at the schedule ahead, and you said in the next 2 weeks they can come back from Colorado out of a playoff spot.
Yeah.
Then they lose the Tavares and Marner the very next game against St. Louis to illness, and you're going, man, this is a disaster. And as soon as you say that, they win 7 in a row, including in Vegas and in Colorado. And then you're going, boy, they've never looked better. And then, of course, the letdown against New Jersey, or I guess it was Vegas coming back from that trip. But the only thing I'll say is I think they're different. I think they're tougher. Whether that's going to translate into, winning 1, 2, 3, or 4 playoff series remains to be seen. But I do like the fact that Joel Edmondson, I think, might be the greatest addition in the long run if they get him back healthy. And it looks like he's, within a week of coming back. But that, and we could talk about the transformation of Ilya Samsonov, but the transformation of Ryan Reeves is probably just as impressive at this point.
Ralphie, just watching Tampa Bay last night, where do you put them right now? Pretty impressive, but yet we still look at that blue line, and there's not the likes of a McDonough or Sergachev anywhere near that blue line right now, which puts a tremendous amount of pressure on Hedman now. But should we be looking at Tampa Bay as one of those teams that can easily find themselves in a Stanley Cup final?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think, I think the D is part of it. The Sergachev injury is obviously devastating to them. And that would be a concern. Even the bottom 6, because of their success, they haven't been able to hold on to a lot of guys that were crucial to their cup wins. But, man, when any team that's got Kucherov and Point and Stamkos, I mean, that, between their power play and Vasilevsky, if he's back to form, they're going to scare a lot of teams. And let's not forget they do have, the core has the playoff experience and the playoff success. So it's, there are a lot of matchups that you look at and you're going, pick your poison. But I think Tampa going into any series as the underdog is pretty scary to open that, game 1 and 2 on home ice against the Lightning.
Yeah. Before we went to break and got to you, we were talking about the bottom of the Leafs D-core. Sheldon has said that he doesn't see them as having like a shutdown pair this year. It's interesting because both of us, Kip and I here, love Simone Benoit. Sammy does too. Trying to figure out who's out, and TJ Brody's name kind of comes up as a guy on the fringes. Obviously, Liljegren's injured right now, but where do you stand on a guy like Brody and his importance, or if he's even going to be in come game one?
Yeah, I honestly think Borney, it's going to be a bit of a revolving door until something clicks. And I mean, you might get lucky, right? You know, if you could ever steal the first couple of games on the road of a playoff series, and obviously you're going to stick to it. But you know, even Benoit and McCabe, you like the physicality. Sometimes McCabe gets caught on some bad decisions, but you love to compete and how hard the guy works. But yeah, I think so much of it's going to be in the personality of a series. If it's going to be a rough, tough, physical series, then you know, maybe TJ Brody does find himself the odd man out. And you know, I don't know if you keep Lyubushkin and Riley together, but you know, Lyubushkin's another guy that can be physical. So you know, I think they're well suited in the sense that they've got the option for toughness or puck moving. And that might, you know, depend more on the series and how the series starts to develop as much as anything.
Ralphie, 7 games to go here. Matthews scores another one last night. If he finds a way to put up a hat trick somewhere down the road here, or a couple of back-to-back 2-goal games, that number 70 gets real close here. Where are you on the pursuit of 70 and still prepping this team for game one of the Stanley Cup playoffs?
Well, you know what's funny, Kyper, is the one thing I noticed, and I like, and I'm sure you're more old school this way as well, that for the most part, he's not a big selly guy. It's not, you know, unless it's a big goal or an important goal, a lot of times you see very little reaction from him. It's almost back to the Bobby Orr days where it's just sort of put your head down and go back to the bench. But when he scored 60 in Buffalo, there was a huge response from him. And you realize how much, you know, that milestone did mean to him. When you're thinking, boy, we never saw that the first 59, you know, so, you know, the 70 might mean a little more to him than I might have thought a month ago. They hit that milestone, but like I said, I think I go back to, you know, the business-like approach after scoring a goal. I don't know if it's necessarily number one on his list. And I could see if he gets to 67 or 68, and Sheldon Keefe, I'm sure, would have the conversation with him. We'd like you to take the day off and get rested up and not risk injury, or do you want to play? I think that's probably the conversation that would happen. But I don't think, you know, Austin Matthews knows that 60-goal seasons or not, you're ultimately going to be judged by your playoff success. And then, you know, like it or not, that whole group has been so far. So I think it's kind of a nice storyline. I think it's probably means more to the teammates than it does to Austin Matthews. But I think everybody realizes what's at stake, and it's, you know, he's won his league awards and everything else already, and there's something a little more important around the corner. So I tend to think that 70 would be nice, but I don't think it's the plan or the be-all, end-all for Sheldon Keefe or Austin Matthews.
Yeah, it's impressive that he's kept up his scoring rate without Mitch Marner. But I guess the question, you know, for such a great player like Mitch Marner is, do you put him back with Matthews here? Have you seen enough with Domi and Matthews chemistry that you feel like you could load up another line with Mitch Marner, maybe help someone else along, or is it kind of inevitable they go back to the Matthews-Marner duo?
Yeah, I mean, I'm of the faith, Bonnie, that you know, one of the best setup guys in the league and one of the best goal scorers in the league. They're like, to me, it's that simple, and they've played together and had success. Obviously, with the power play struggling, that's really where, you know, even on the penalty kill, you know, where you miss Mitch Marner. And, you know, I just think you've got that kind of special chemistry that you should keep it together. But please don't ask me, where does everybody else go slotting on the lines? Because Joe and I tried to do that. And I think before one of the games, we thought we had a pretty good lineup. We said, if you assume everybody's healthy, this is our lineup. And then we realized we didn't have Bobby McMahon in. And then we went, oh, no.
Threw the wrench in the whole thing, eh?
Yeah, we thought, boy, we got all these great lines. And you go, oh, no. oh no, we just omitted somebody. So it's I think if you're if you're a Leaf fan and you're getting pumped and want the combination, sit down with the pen and paper and come up with the lines. And then, and this is assuming that Kelly Yarncroc is back as well.
Yeah.
But again, you talked about the decor as TJ Brody in or out, and based on your own preferences or, defense pairings, the forwards are going to be just as difficult. Once you get Marner back, and if you get Yarncroc back as well, number one question is who comes out, and number two, personally, I would prefer to see Pontus Holmberg being the number 3 center.
Mm-hmm.
And Camp 4. I don't know if I like that 3-4 combination or the David Camp centering the third line on a regular basis. I think, and again, that's where it gets difficult to say, okay, if you got Dewar, Camp, and Reeves on the fourth line, where does everybody else slot in? It's but let's face it. I don't recall having this conundrum last year, previous years going into the playoffs, because you just knew who was playing with who, and the options were really, pretty limited.
Yeah. So if we are talking about maybe one of the last spots on the roster in Game 1, is it safe to say that you'd rather have a guy with a hard forecheck like Reeves than a guy like Robertson who could, shoot a puck in the net?
Yeah, well, we made the reference that you remember Lonnie Bohannes when the Leafs played.
I was with Lonnie last night in the alumni box.
Way, cool.
Oh, really? Yeah. And I remember he had that one great series. I think he was playing with Mats for a while and then scored some big goals for the Leafs. So Nick Robertson could be one of those guys that if he doesn't start in Game 1, maybe through injury or, in different play, he gets in. But I'll tell you, to be in the building and watch Ryan Reeves, who somehow, it's great to say he's been more physical and, but to me, it's been the speed. We've seen him get back on the back check and break up plays. And, where it seemed when early on in the season, he seemed to get caught standing still a lot. But, boy, to see him wind up and get ready to go shoulder to shoulder with somebody against the boards is a lot of fun. I mean, it may not quite be an Austin Matthews rush, but the crowd, you could feel the crowd's energy build as Reeves is going in. So, I think he's earned the right to be in the lineup and has done everything you could ask for him, but it's gone far more beyond the fights or anything else. So he's, to me, been a very valuable commodity for them.
As you have on our show, Ralphie.
Yes.
What's that?
As you have on our show. Very, very hot commodity.
Value.
Yeah, that's
all right,
where I was
pal.
going with that, yeah.
All right. 7 games to go, Ralphie? We're going to be leaning on you the rest of the way here.
No problem. And I should be through season 6 of Love is Blind by then, too.
Thanks, Ralphie.
Jimmy Ralph, everybody.
Thanks,
Toronto Maple Leaf radio color analyst for us here at Sportsnet.
Likes
Holmberg.
Reeves quite a bit. Likes Holmberg.
And likes Holmberg.
Yeah. And I would, I think I've probably said this a number of times. They just have more guys who could score one, in the past than in the past. Like it could be Nyes, it could be McMahon, it could be Robertson, it could be Holmberg. None of those guys you'd go like
Bertuzzi.
Yeah, none of them would be like, oh my God, they scored. Like they're guys that can make plays.
Yeah.
Just got to play a team tight, and you got enough guys that can find them.
And
a crack.
It's crazy, but like the more I've watched the last half a dozen games that the Leafs have played, it's really always coming down to the goalie.
Yeah.
Right? Who's going to get goalied?
Yeah.
Probably whoever plays Tampa.
But I do feel like it's just less Team A, less Team B, which I like.
Okay, we're just warming up here. We got an hour to go. The national show kicks in. Mike Rupp, NHL Network analyst, former NHLer, covering the Devils and the Rangers last night, combining for 162 penalty minutes. We're getting into that. 3 seconds into our show. That's all it took for a brawl last night. 3 seconds.
Good time. Yeah, good times, and I look forward to hearing Rupper's take. He was watching close.
Stick around, everybody. We're back after these words. There we go. National Hour on Real Kyper and Bourne. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. We are live on Sportsnet. Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver, Sportsnet 960 in Calgary. This hour of Real Kyper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. Mike Rupp in a few minutes. Everybody's talking Rangers, Devils last night at MSG.
Because of the Rangers comeback?
I went to Leafs Tampa Bay last night, so did not catch it live, but the moment it happened, I don't know, 6-8 guys, their phones started buzzing, and it's the phones are amazing. There's a lot of bad things about them.
Plenty.
But
mostly.
More bad than good.
Mostly
but the one part is something happens, you hear about it right away, and you get to see it right away.
Yeah. Our wonderful product, Sportsnet Plus. Sometimes I find myself on there picking a game, and that one was like, 7 o'clock. Leafs were about to drop the puck with Tampa. We cover the Leafs. I was like, Rangers. I had Rangers Devils on, toggle over to that one, and I did not expect what came.
Should we have not talked about this a little bit more based on their short history? No, but even last night.
Bad production by me.
How do we not know something was coming?
We did. We said they'd fight.
But a 5-on-5 brawl?
No.
That's what I'm talking about.
Though?
To what degree? How greasy could it get out there?
We were too busy crapping on Torts.
We did have a good Torts sesh.
Torts did it again. Sucked all the oxygen out of the room, left us nothing on the Rangers and the Devils.
Yeah. Was it Goodrow who took the draw at center and skated right to the D-man? Like, they obviously had set that up. They had a conversation. It looked like 3 guys were fighting, and the other 4 guys were like, well, we're not going to look like the punks here.
Well, I just thought the visual of all the guys getting shipped and all just skating off the ice
in a row of ducks right off the ring.
I'm like, that's as hockey gets. That's just slap shot stuff.
That's a bad call.
What?
That they got kicked out.
I actually saw, that's
just a horrible decision.
Like, both teams agree they want to do this thing.
It's all at the same time. You're going to tell me now that VC and Lazar started fighting like 2 seconds before anyone else. Therefore, you're out of the game now.
You know what? They wanted to kick out.
They
want
official.
Rempe and Bastion out there. So that's why they don't say that's the first fight. I'm sure they're like, let's just make sure these 2 guys go. Anyway, we have someone more important than me to talk about this.
We do, because he was right there. Let's welcome in Mike Rupp, former NHLer, Stanley Cup champion. Rupper.
What's up, fellas?
Was that fun last night at MSG?
Yeah, it was. It was a good time. It was a good time. Hey, we thought it would, and so many times when you think these things are going to happen, or maybe not that. I didn't think we're going to have a 5-on-5 brawl, but just to even see the Rempe McDermott fight, there's a lot of lead up to it, and then a lot of times there's nothing, but just felt a little different. And man, what ended up happening? It's the place was a buzz there at MSG, and I love those things. I personally think that it's the most galvanizing thing you could do as a team. I know it doesn't happen that often, and you can't necessarily fabricate those situations to happen, and they don't happen. But when they do, I think I don't know. It's something unique. Just from the standpoint of, Matt Rempe. Let's look at it from the Rangers standpoint. He's been awesome, right? A polarizing guy. He's coming in, whether you like him, you don't like him, whatever the situation is. He's come in here, and the Rangers could have been like, all right, well, you got to answer the bell here, and, whatever. We're all going to get a front row seat. They're like, no, we're in this too. Like, and that to me, I'm like, oh, okay. Like, this is something like, that gives me goosebumps. And I think of it from the other side too with McDermott. I mean, this has been a Devils team all year they're pretty revered as being a soft team. I mean, they are. Yeah. And they go out and they get him. And I think it's really important when you get a guy like that doesn't change your team toughness. You guys got to be in it together as well. And I think they could have very easily said, all right, Mac, go do your thing. No, we're in it with you. I love that stuff. I think it's a great sign for both teams. And again, that stuff, man, when you get in the trainer's room after the game or the plane or the bus or whatever the circumstances and the stories are flying and the ice bags are on you, I mean, those are the things you remember.
We're talking to Mike Rupp, NHL Network analyst, former NHLer Stanley Cup champion. We're talking Devils, Rangers, 162 penalty minutes, not since 2014 when Tortorella had to chase down the Calgary dressing room have we seen something like this. But when you factor in the brief history now since Rempe's come in between the Rangers and the Devils, Rupper, this had to happen last night, right? There was so much air in the balloon that something needed to happen to alleviate all that pressure. Like, there's no way around it last night.
No, there's not. You knew it was going to happen. You know that Matt Rempe was going to. But I also like the fact that, like, I'm okay with him not fighting the last game. And, this is all kind of part of, hey, you've got leverage in a situation like this. I mean, you got to do it on your own terms. So, but I felt like it finally kind of came to a head where you knew it was going to go down in some way, shape, or form last night, and probably not in that manner I didn't expect. But yeah, I mean that's something that he stepped up. He did his thing here. We'll see if he can start getting through games against the Devils at some point here. But so far, I mean, he's made himself very endearing to Ranger fans.
I'll get your thoughts, JB, and we'll start with Rupper first, though. But Travis Green, he's the first coach to fill out the game sheet. Like, what do you expect, Peter Laviolette, when the game sheet comes back to his office and you see McDermott's name starting? Like, that's the invitation, is it not?
100%, yeah. I mean, I think that that's basically saying without saying. That's saying, we're here to do this.
Yeah.
What are you guys going to do about it? You know what I mean? Like, that's basically what that is to me. I remember back in 2012 when we had that incident, with the three fights, Devils, Rangers, MSG. Torts came in the room because at that time, Pete DeBoer put in the lineup first. And that's when he had, Eric Bolton, Cam Jansen, he ended up kind of stacking their group. Ryan Carter was the center. And, but anyways, Torts came in the room, and I remember him kicking the garbage can, and he's basically just like, what am I supposed to do? He goes, I can't. It was kind of funny. He goes, what am I supposed to do? I can't put Gabby out there. Talking about Marion Gaborik. And he's like, I gotta protect. We gotta have guys that can protect themselves. And so whether that was true or not, or whether he wanted it to happen, you've got Peter Laviolette's got to come back with Rempe and the guys who can handle themselves. So yeah, I mean, I think for the situation there, Travis Green, to be like, I didn't understand why he was so upset. Why he's upset, and I'm okay with it.
So, Rupper, I think you're a perfect guy to weigh in on this. You played in the league a long time and scored plenty of goals and played an important role and also been in the fisticuffs and all that. What do you say to people who say that this is dangerous, this doesn't belong here in the sport? Like everyone who's played recognizes what happened last night, but what do you say to the people who don't think that, it is dangerous last night and shouldn't be a part of the game?
I think the first thing is, we want all hockey fans, man. If you're a hockey fan, you don't like fighting, I don't care. Mm-hmm. The more people that are watching the game, the better. Like, we can all consume it in the way that we like to consume it, but don't tell me that there's no place for it. That's our foundation of our sport. It's a violent sport, man. Like, that's what it is. And it's gotten cleaner, way cleaner. I mean, you guys know this. Anybody who's watched the game knows this. And the other thing that drives me nuts in all of this, and I mean this through and through and through. I have never, ever, ever in my life. So, I probably had, 150 fights over the course of junior hockey, pro, whatever. I've never in my life had to fight. No one made me do anything. I chose to fight. Did I want to in all the situations? No, but I had to because of, I wanted to, not make things worse for my teammates, not make things worse for myself. You do not have to fight. So anybody that drops their gloves in hockey, they're willing. You know what I mean? And people can say, no, that's not true. At one time, it wasn't true. Kyper, I'm sure you could tell some stories where guys were forced to fight or they got jumped or whatever. We don't see that nowadays. Like, you get, you know what I mean? Like, it's a decision.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. And quite frankly, if you're a guy that's going to play hard, like, here's a perfect example. Go look up Patrick Hornquist's career fights. Mm-hmm. Patrick Hornquist was one of the most antagonistic, around your net, frustrating players in your goalie's grill, smiling at you all the time. I think he has one career fight, maybe two. So my point is, it's almost advantageous for you not to fight and play that role now, because now everybody wants to get you and you're just drawing penalties for your team left and right. You know what I mean? So like, you don't have to do anything. That's the part that bugs me, is when people say, make it like the players don't have a decision in this.
The other thing I find it hard to explain, and I've been around this game a long time, is to explain to people that have never been in that environment how it can bring and galvanize a team together and make you, like, Devils lost, right? Rangers won. Both those teams are going to practice this morning feeling great about what happened. Yeah. They can bring you together emotionally even more than a 5 or 10 game winning streak could.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, because it strips everything down, right? Like, and that's the point too. Like, and I know we've already kind of discussed this a little bit, but like John Marino, Chris Tierney, these guys don't fight, and Jimmy Vesey, they don't fight, but they had the drop of a hat show that they're going to stand side by side with their teammates. And some people might be like, oh, that's lame, that's stupid, that's barbaric stuff. Like, that doesn't mean anything. That's garbage. Because I know when I'm on the ice, and I've been on teams maybe where I've been on a team before where one of the players, will remain unnamed, a younger player came up to me between periods. I was an older player, and he goes, hey, Rupper, player, blah, blah, blah. He's all over me. Can you go take care of him? I'm like, that's not how this works. You know what I mean? Like, you got to like push back a little bit on your own too. And then, so like when you have guys that are making themselves uncomfortable and doing things out of the ordinary for the team, that same thing as blocking a shot, right? Like, we see, and we talk about how many times that when a guy lays down to block a shot, what that does to your bench, or take a hit to just get the puck deep, right? That's always been one of the ultimates. Like, you're going to get hit here. You're not bailing on the play, because if you bail on the play, they might score, you might lose the game. I can't emphasize it enough that there is nothing that will bring a team closer together than getting in a dust up with one another. I believe that through and through.
Rupper, we know we got only a few minutes with you here. We got to talk about the matchup between the Pens and the Caps tonight. You're at the building right now, and as I told these guys, 4 or 5 days ago, man, don't underestimate Sid's shoulders and how big they are, and how much weight he can carry on them.
He has been, listen, I know I do the color for the Penguins, so people will be like, oh, well, you have to say, no, listen, there was a few games there, a stretch in there after the trade deadline, where I thought that Sid looked defeated. Like, he looked like he had a stretch there where I was like, his body language wasn't great. And I'm like, oh no, and I don't know what, maybe he's just tired, maybe it was whatever, but he's found this gear now. And not just him, Brian Rust has been incredible. And great story with Alex Nedeljkovic right now. I mean, they've got this thing going, and it's literally Sid's been great for a while now, but now everyone else is starting to chip in a little bit. And it's, he's not going to have enough point totals, because I think that's the way that these things go nowadays. But he should be in everybody's heart conversation. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's how good he's been all season long. And right now, I mean, he seems like he's good for 3-4 points every night and find a ways. I'd say buckle up in this game. I think we're going to see him put on a show in this one, because he's been trending that direction for a little bit of time now.
Yeah, he's been trending that way. And look, I gotta tell you, we watched the Capitals play the Leafs a couple times over the past 2 weeks. It's not a great. They're struggling. They look slow. Yeah. I understand they are where they are in the standings. They haven't looked great to us here. What are your thoughts on that snail's race in the Eastern Conference for the final playoff spots?
It's crazy, because we're sitting here, and I was doing the Western Canadian trip, and there's been so many different times where I've thought, whether it's the Penguins, I'm like, oh, they're dead to rights here, like they're done. And then then you wake up and you're like, I mean, they still got a chance here. You know, they win 2 games in a row, and we're like, oh my gosh, that game on Thursday in DC is huge. I mean, you can say that about all these teams. I mean, there was a stretch there where the Islanders were good, and you're like, oh, Islanders look like they're going to be in this, and then they're not. And then, you know, the games in hand have always been something for the Capitals that you've kind of just leaned and thought that they're going to be able to do that. Now they look like they've dropped off a little bit. Detroit, you don't know what you're getting from them. It's kind of crazy. So when I look at all of that, I have to go back to, all right, who can you lead? What do we know from some of these teams? And what I do know is we're going to have an elite Sidney Crosby, right? And we have an Evgeny Malkin who is rejuvenated the last couple games. Does Detroit have guys like that? I don't know. I mean, Washington had Ovi for that stretch, and then Ovi's kind of chilled out here a little bit. We'll have to see. But man, it's all about just. It doesn't matter how you've gotten here. If you're minus 35 goal differential, if your power play stinks, it doesn't matter. Any of that matters. You literally win your games in the next 10 days. You're in the playoffs, and I think that's the way these teams got to look at it.
Did you see before the All-Star break, Ovi knocking on the door of 30-goal season?
I had a bet with Jason Demers. So when he was at 43 games, 8 goals, I said he's going to get 30. And we made a wager. I didn't feel very good about that. And then all of a sudden, I can start running my mouth, in the last few weeks because he's gotten up there. But hey, here's where it's at. If he's going to get there now, he's going to have to will this team. He's going to have to will this team because you're right. They haven't looked good. The Caps haven't looked great in the last number of games. Ovi's going to have to be getting another streak going right now if this team's going to get in. And I would expect them to be firing on all cylinders. I think we'll see a great Crosby throwback Ovechkin matchup here in DC tonight because they're great, and that's what they do.
All right, Rupper, we're going to let you go, pal. We really appreciate you coming on the show. We know you got a big night ahead of you. We'll be watching right there with you. Thanks for doing this, pal.
Thanks, Rupper.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Good stuff from Mike Rupp there.
Yeah, really good stuff.
This race is fascinating. Tonight, the Capitals, if they lose tonight, the Penguins will be 1 point behind them with the same games played. Sorry, with one more game played, but then they play a back-to-back against Carolina tomorrow. So this could get real tight real quick for the Caps if they don't get a win in the next 2 days. Islanders got Columbus tonight.
Complicated feelings for me.
About
Again, but it depends.
Yeah.
It's just like I can't root against Sid.
No.
And it's like with all the stuff I talk about Ovi, I can't be like, yeah, but I hate Ovi more than I hate Dubas. So I gotta root for Sid.
Rank your hatred.
I gotta root for Sid. And he's been unbelievable. And he's right about the heart thing. He won't win it. But like how many
mentioned it yesterday.
When you vote, like is it like the NBA thing where you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5?
Yeah.
To me, he's in the top 5 Hart candidate. Like, no question. Like he's not going to win it. There's huge point totals. Like I understand it, but he deserves to be mentioned in there and have third or fourth place votes, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So you got your top 3.
Yeah.
Austin and Sid.
What about Roman Yossi?
Perfect.
Right.
Didn't you like Yossi? What about Connor Hellebuck? Yeah, he slowed down.
No, I think that's it. That's the top 5 is.
I think if you wrote that down, you would not be the main character on Twitter the next day. Do you remember last year some guy left McDavid off his ballot for top 5?
And wasn't that the only reason he wasn't unanimous?
Yeah, he had like 199 votes for first, and then the kid didn't put him on.
I think it was a Pittsburgh guy.
It was.
I forget his name.
Don't, because he wants that, right?
Well, I forget,
That's what
but
this is.
I legitimately can't remember it. So
so the hand of God, me either.
You expect Pitt to win tonight?
I do.
I expect Sammy to give us a number on Sidney Crosby over 1.5 or something tonight. That's all I expect. They may win, they may lose, but I think Sid's going to be involved. Maybe even a shots prop, like over 2.5 shots.
You're not gonna jinx Pitt like you jinxed the Edmonton Oilers with
who?
McDavid 3 assists.
No,
yesterday.
Listen, if you've been listening all year, just bet against what I say. Be a millionaire.
These are not, no one's mentioning the word lock is not in the.
There's 7 games to go, and now you tell me.
I'm not exactly setting the lines in Vegas here, boys. I'm a bit of an idiot. I think we all know what this is. But, I don't know if you watched any of that game last night, the Edmonton and Dallas. First of all, boys, Dallas is a wagon. They are an excellent team. They're wearing those stupid lime green jerseys that are
There's
awful.
something else, aren't
They're
they?
like a margarita.
They look terrible.
Hey?
Like, it's not National League.
They look like night vision goggles or something.
They're embarrassing. It looks like, it's like on the streets
Mountain
of Oshawa.
Dew stars.
But they're awful jerseys, but they look really good. But the first period, that game was really tight, close game. It was 1-0 after the first. And for the first 10 minutes of the second period, the Oilers poured it on.
Yeah.
They were by far the better team. They
do what the Leafs do when they when it doesn't go in, they get frustrated and they push
100%.
forward, and all of a sudden,
And then
look
bang.
out going that way.
And then they just came like a wave. They got a power play goal from Sagan. Who else scored for them? They were just rolling. They look
Remember
really
what I told you about Dallas a couple weeks ago?
that they're good.
No.
Oh,
One guy. They just need one guy going.
Ottinger,
Yes.
back-to-back shutouts.
Yes.
Yes,
Like his numbers are off the charts the last 7.
yeah. So here,
It's like a 955.
it's hard, right? Because
You
watch
win
that.
with 955.
I think you win, yes, almost every time. It's just crazy watching the Stars, and it's like Thomas Harley, Wyatt Johnson, or Johnston. It's like because you don't watch them all the time, you don't recognize those are like elite guys. Those are high-end guys in the league now.
I think it's
Did that kid score his 30th goal?
he did.
20th, wasn't
Wyatt Johnson, no, his 30th.
it? 30th?
Yeah.
30.
So many.
And he's 20. That's what you're thinking of.
I know. Good Lord.
The crazy thing is for me that they're such an elite team, and they've really done a great job of bridging it from like the
Yeah,
Sagan,
the vets to the next wave.
Ben kind of thing that like they were making way too much money, and they've kind of managed to sort of middle it
Yeah.
with bringing up and like that got that Stankoven who looks awesome. He's flying around out there. Wyatt Johnson,
Bad shoulder
Harley.
pads, though.
Oh my God, Turtle Man. They look awful.
It's
Especially
not,
those
like,
jerseys.
it's not like you can just definitively say, oh, this is their number one line. They got like 3.5, 4 really good lines
Yeah.
that just
when
come
are those
at you.
Ben and Sagan deals up? One more year in each after this year.
Mhm.
Or no, sorry, Sagan has till 27, but Ben is this year and next.
But those guys are battle tested. Ben's a battle tested playoff guy
Mm-hmm.
that will find a way to shoot it in the net and piss you off at the same time.
Yeah. Oh, he's a big, strong man.
Yeah, and
No doubt about that.
Sagan's contributing offensively this year. I think he's got 23 or 24 goals. Like he's been really good. So, he's not what he used to be.
Yeah, he's got 50 points, 23 goals, 50 points.
But what's he make?
9.875, and he makes that until 27.
Okay,
It's a lot.
it's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's more than I thought it was.
Not ideal.
So we're gonna do game time here.
All right.
But before I do game time, and I want to get this all organized while we go to break, please text us.
Oh, yeah.
Text us now.
Text 595.
Text 595-90. We want from all over Canada. We don't just want Toronto questions. We want Toronto's questions from wherever you are, from Vancouver, from Calgary, from Edmonton, from Ottawa,
Yes.
wherever you are. So text us 595-90 and tell us some thoughts, and we'll read them. And I can organize them in the break so they're not all pouring in at once.
As a
Okay.
reminder, we're not on the air tomorrow
Yes.
because of
We have to watch the Jays hit more home runs.
we got to watch the Jays take pitches.
Take pitches. That's a good way to put it. Oh.
Boys, it's a tough watch.
Like if they come home after this 11-game road trip, like with 4 wins, are we okay? 5 wins?
No.
Yes. No, Kyper, I said 100% that if they got home with, 500 or a game under, that's a good start to the season. The trip, they started, it's Rays, Houston,
Oh, yeah. Houston's tough.
Yankees. It's like
Yes.
a tough trip. But the process of getting there, it's like, holy crap, is this a grind?
It's been ugly.
Anyways, game time. It's game time presented by Bet365. Visit the app for the latest odds. Find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 18 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. I'm just pulling it up here. You made a comment off air that I won't make you repeat on air about this Sidney Crosby versus Pittsburgh versus Washington Capitals game tonight. And we're having a tough time sort of, handicapping it. Which way? Who do you like? So is Vegas. Bet365 has this up as minus 110 on both sides. They literally have
dead split.
Dead split. They have no idea who's going to win this game. If I really am betting on Sid, but to me, it's just such a toss up. I really have no idea.
Kyper?
Do you go with Charlie Lindgren tonight?
I don't know. Is
Can he
anything
keep him?
out of
Can he
Washington
keep
made you
him?
believe in Washington?
2 and under. That's the number. Either he wins
Yeah.
2-1 or 3-2, or he gets blown out.
Yeah.
So
Sid's scary, though. Sid's with that redirect, that forehand redirect.
Mhm.
Yeah. The 70-degree wedge.
So I'm looking at the to reach playoff odds. So they've obviously slimmed it down big time here with the odds, because in the West it's basically done, but the East clearly it's not. Detroit Red Wings are minus 115 to make it.
Don't touch
The
that.
New York Islanders are plus 180 to make it. The Philadelphia Flyers are minus 110 to make it. And the Pittsburgh Penguins are plus 550 to make it. And then the Capitals are minus 115.
The thing is, the Penguins win tonight, and you've made that bet. You're feeling really good.
So it's like, you're almost getting like borderline plus 550 for the Penguins to beat the Caps tonight. Like in a way, there's a way you can convince yourself that if they win tonight, that changes them big time. So, yeah.
All right, I like that. That's a good one.
Thank
And
you.
next week, Pitt has Detroit.
Next week,
So,
yeah.
They have a lot of games
It
against
does have a
teams.
tough schedule.
That's a
though.
tough-
They got Tampa, they got Toronto, they got Boston left.
Boys,
They got some tough teams.
Monday night in Toronto. If they win like the next couple,
Yeah.
high stakes game for Kyle Dubas's Penguins coming to
In
Toronto.
Toronto.
And Kyle won't talk to us.
No, we will
Is
not
that-
get
is
him
that-
on the
he
air.
might actually do
No,
well.
he needs to say something for sure.
Yeah,
You-
needs
I
to and
cannot-
will is not the same thing.
I can't see him shutting it down on a Monday.
Well, maybe we'll get him on.
And there's
Send him a text.
just another game to highlight tonight. Excellent Eastern Conference matchup. The Boston Bruins pay a visit to Carolina to take on the Hurricanes. Hurricanes, overwhelming favorites, minus 155. It's a big number. Boston's plus 130. You know, one of the President's Trophy candidates at a plus number like that. I don't mind it, but God, Carolina looks really good. So that's another big one on tap tonight. And that was Game Time, presented by Bet365. Visit the app, latest odds, and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly.
I don't think the Bruins are going to play in the second round of the playoffs.
Wow.
Writing off.
Don't
the
even
big
know who
bad
they're playing.
Bruins.
Well, they're going to probably play in Tampa.
Tough.
So that's a good take.
Tough bounce.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. News and notes when we come back. Some big names in, some big names out of the lineups. Hurt,
Mm-hmm.
Hurdle in,
Hurt is not hurt. Hurdle's in.
Hurdle's in.
All right.
And one last reminder, text us 590-590. Our boy Sammy is getting ready to read them as we cruise into the weekend. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. We're back after these words. All right, let's bring it home here, boys. Flyers captain Sean Couturier out day-to-day with an upper body injury. This, I got to think he can't wait for the season to end.
Mike.
First, what you missed, well, my Mike was obviously did Torts punch him? And I would agree that, yes, this does not seem like very much fun, let alone going to battle in a first-round series against the Rangers or something.
As if they get in.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're doing everything they can to drop this ball, but they're pretty close to the end zone. They need 7 points over 6 games, roughly, to get in. Buffalo, Columbus, Montreal next for them. Like, they should get in.
They should.
What else did I put in news and notes? There was something else I wanted to
Did
put in.
anyone send any texts about your new hat?
No.
They should, because it's beautiful.
Thanks, buddy. I
You're
appreciate that. It was almost like it was made in a lab for me.
I don't get it. I don't get your hat.
What about it?
Well, it's a Blue Jays hat.
It's a Blue Jay hat with a golf.
Turn to the camera on
Like,
the other side, Sam.
It's got
Jays,
it's got
other
a
side. There you go.
it's got a green on it, a golf green.
It's
And a
golf,
rope.
and it's in a rope.
So does
That's
that
what I
mean
like.
that the
Skate
Blue
lace
Jays
rope.
are golfing?
Yeah. I don't know. They can't golf. Well, they go to Cabo and golf in the winter when they lose in the first round. The Leafs go in the summer. You know, it's the whole season's covered. What was I going to say to you guys? Ekblad is the one thing that I wanted to put in here, but we touched on that, I guess, right? With Ekblad being
No,
out.
we didn't.
We didn't know.
No.
Ekblad
No, we
hurt
didn't.
again.
Hurt again. It's
There was a crazy
it
quote.
always seems like he's out.
Yes. Maurice had a quote where he said that we know what it is. We're familiar with what is happening, and he's familiar with how long it takes to come back from this. He's trending positively, and we think we'll have him back by playoffs.
Factor in Carter Verhaeghe will be lost for the remainder. They think possibly he could get the last game of the season if he needs a tune-up. but like they're limping in.
Yeah. You would want, though, to not let those guys get their feet under them because obviously they can go back to being the dominant force we've seen them be at times. But, yeah, they're certainly struggling at this point.
Do you guys want to do texts?
Texts. My
Hurdle.
favorite time
Hold
of
on.
week.
Hurdle. Thomas Hurdle. Golden Knights. Like, they were looking pretty good this week.
Edmonton.
They're coming.
Huh?
Is Edmonton going to draw them?
Boys. Edmonton is sweat.
Let me find.
It's almost
almost a lock
give
now.
me a percentage.
Okay. Here's what scares me about Edmonton. Versus top 5 teams in the NHL.
Oh, yeah.
They're 4-6-1. Versus teams 6 to 10th, they're 3-3-2. The next cluster of 5, 7-6-1, then 21-6-1, 10-2-0. So as the teams get worse, they get way better. Way better. But you don't want a good team losing half of their games to teams that are in the playoffs. So I'm concerned about them beating a good team in a 7-game series is the point I'm trying to make. Portland.
Minnesota or Calgary or St. Louis to still make the playoffs.
They need, Arizona or Columbus maybe.
Like, if Hurdle's half decent,
Yeah.
it's huge.
Hanifin, since he's been in Vegas, is like a 60% expected goals guy.
He's hammering the
been
puck.
Awesome for them.
Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah, and you take him out of context on a team that was struggling and put him on a good team, and boy, what a difference maker he's been for them.
That's happened here with Lavushkin.
Right.
People were saying he was the worst player in the league.
The
and
worst
he's come
in the
here and
league
he's
was
been,
actually what people said when
and
they
he's
acquired him.
been really good. Well, not really good, but passable.
Buddy, he's
exactly
been really
what they
good.
need.
He's been really good.
All right, I'm going to start this text. All right, Kyper. Did
Yes.
Kyper ever fight Ty Domi, or was Kyper done before Ty came into the league? From Mike, from an old team of Ty in Windsor.
No, didn't ever fight Ty.
Would you have fought him?
Ty was like, he was Pro B, man. He was a heavyweight. I left
You
that.
never saw yourself in
I
that
left
category?
No, I never saw myself in that category. At times I was stupid.
Yeah, so you
and
fought
got,
some guys in
like
that category.
late Chris Simon was my probably scariest moment of my life.
Mhm.
Ken Baumgartner.
Yeah.
Joey Kosher.
But you played against Ty? You would have had opportunities to
But
fight
Ty
Ty?
and I had a little bit of kind of Toronto history, so
There is the bit of deal cutting, not saying you cut deals.
Because he played soccer and you were a soccer guy. He was
Yeah.
like a really good
Ty's
soccer player.
3 years younger than me, so we didn't compete against each other, but we had enough times that we bumped into each other where it's like, yeah, you got other guys you can fight, right? When you see my team.
So my dad and Clark Gillies both were drafted by the Houston Astros. And so when they were 16 years old, they knew each other from playing like rookie ball in Covington, Virginia. They met at age 16 playing baseball.
Sick.
I know, crazy. So they go back to the WHL and, Clark is a big, tough, mean guy. And my dad was like, we made friends, we were pals when we played each other, right? You didn't have to fight or be, have that come up, which is nice.
So bringing this conversation into last night, MSG, you've got Rempe and McDermott lining up against each other. We know that's happening. Usually, if something like this was going down, it's centerman on centerman.
Yeah.
Last night, Barclay Goodrow was taking the face-off against Chris Turney, right?
Mm-hmm.
Buddies.
Oh, those two are.
Buddies.
Yeah.
What happens?
Straight
Goodrow
I'm going to pass on you.
bypasses Turney,
That's funny.
the closest guy, bypasses him and goes straight for ball on the defense.
I love that. You can still serve the purpose of sticking up your team without punching your friend in the face.
That's right.
It's great.
That's
right.
awesome. You mentioned something there, like not to get off on a tangent.
So, okay, can I tell you
Yes,
one more
please.
story?
Yes.
So, I know Ty a little bit. I get traded to the Toronto Maple Leafs, and we're playing against Detroit. It's Pro B, and I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to see firsthand, another Domi Pro B fight. So, I get to the rink early, and there I go by the Zamboni entrance, and there's Pro B and Ty together having a coffee, signing pictures of their fight in Madison Square Gardens.
That's awesome.
At probably like $20 a pop.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Great. It's a business, man.
And they still went out, I think, in 5.
Of course.
How
love
cool
that.
is that?
I love that.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. But you mentioned something there about like the playing other sports.
Yeah.
And I feel like that in this era is lost a little bit. Like I remember, I forget whose book, maybe it was Bobby Orr's book that I read, and he was talking about how in the winter, sorry, in the summer, never even considered hockey as a thing. Like he was like, I'd play baseball, play soccer, play this, or play like now it's like it's so specialized. Like I find that in soccer, there's so many things you can learn about, the way you're playing and baseball and all this stuff. It's just so specialized now.
I'm telling you right now, like Rempe and Curtis McDermott, they're going to be buddies.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to be buddies when it's all said.
McDermott already said in that interview that I have a lot of respect for the kid after previously saying he had none.
Are you kidding me? A ton of respect.
Yeah.
Where would Curtis McDermott be if it wasn't for Rempe now? You think we would have talked about him?
I see what you're saying. He got traded there for that purpose.
For that purpose. Rempe gave Curtis McDermott a chance to come back and be a player in the NHL and an important one for New Jersey. He went from a forgotten guy in the lineup, out of the lineup, in the minors, nobody's talking McDermott until Rempe came along.
That's interesting.
And now he's on the Devils. Something like that happened last night. And correct me if I'm wrong, go to your cap friendly. McDermott is an unrestricted free agent.
With more value than he had a month ago.
Oh, you think?
Yeah.
This guy went from I don't know, where is he? Google him. I don't know what team he's on to. Devils got to sign this guy. This guy's going to make, he might sign a 3 or 4 year deal for $4.5 million. Devils need him. They can't have Rempe.
How old is he? He's under 30?
He's under 30. He's probably 29 or 30. Yeah. And you know what's the other?
He is 30.
Rempe gives up 9 years of experience on him. Like, I'm watching Rempe last night. I thought he fought a very smart fight.
Which he hadn't been early on.
He was able to do what he did, and he played defense. Curtis McDermott went in last night saying to himself, I want the knockout. He wanted to knock him out.
Yeah.
And Rempe at age 21 didn't let that happen. Smart kid.
Maybe you can speak to this a little bit, but I mentioned Clark Gillies. My father-in-law, talked to him a little bit about some of the fighting stuff. He said he didn't mind fighting. He hated the build-up, like knowing when he had to fight the night before, whatever. That was a hard part. And I saw Rempe before the game. There's a clip of him on social media. He's got his headphones in and he's slapping himself in the face and practicing, visualizing the fight. That's tough. You can probably attest to how hard that part is.
Everybody's different. Like I knew when things were coming.
Yeah.
Right. I had a whole summer to think about Tony Twist coming after me. That guy was like
if you could have done it at any moment in the summer, you'd have said, "Let's just get it over with."
Yeah,
it was the closest.
Schedule something for
me too. Temecula.
It was the closest thing to thinking you're going to fight the actual Terminator, Arnold Schwarzenegger in the movie, right? Yeah. Like he was just like, I got to kill Nick Kypreos, and I knew that was coming. But it was like for me, it's like, okay, just get it over with, right? But don't overthink it. You don't have to. I never really sat in a pile of sweat. In a puddle of sweat the night before, but I had teammates that did.
Yeah.
And it's such an individual thing. You can't even begin to explain it to a teammate or family member of what that feels like.
Well, you just think how terrible it is when your spouse or someone says, we need to talk when you get home, or your boss says, hey, come on in tomorrow, or something like that. It's that, but for fighting, and you have to just sit and wait.
Some guys are better at it, handling it. Some other guys have a very tough time. And that's where sometimes alcohol comes into play and, drugs. And that's where we got to keep an eye on these kids today.
So this text says Ottinger's .955 save percentage. Not sure what that point of that's over.
I think about the last 8 games.
Is what we in Vancouver call the Tanev effect. and why we wanted him back so badly.
Yeah.
How about some love for the Ultimate Warrior and team guy, Chris Tanev, Keith in Vancouver? Boys, I wanted him here real bad.
Yeah, there's no
someone
question that if there's a comfort zone there for Tanev, that was a statement to the Dallas Stars players that we want to win the Stanley Cup now.
Mm-hmm.
Now.
So Tanev is, when he's on the ice for Dallas, they're averaging about 60% of the expected goals. Dom Lucian has that in his 16 stats article, which is really,
That's quite awesome.
Yeah. Like if you put any human on the ice and you average 6 out of every 10 chances, you're going to win a lot of games.
Yeah,
so he has helped Dallas quite a bit.
I don't know. Like when I think about Edmonton or Toronto not giving up something significant to go for it,
I think they tried, man.
No, you just didn't try hard enough. No, you didn't spend. You need to spend a little deeper, and it's a crapshoot. I'm not saying that you go big or go home, but there's a few Edmonton Oilers right now, I think, on that roster that are going, did we do enough?
Buddy, it's to not add a D-man of significance at the deadline for Stetcher, okay, but no.
Think about what that team with, you have the pairing of Ekholm and Bouchard, which has been one of the best. But then if you have Tanev underneath that just makes you look like you're a whole different squad.
Yeah.
And same with the Leafs. Imagine you got him with Riley. Think about what that does to the rest of your...
pretend that Edmondson is Tanev.
Same with they got Labushkin right after they missed out on him. It's like, he's good, but
I'm interested.
Proven track record, top pair, stud, excellent guy. Clearly the injury stuff, but...
Makes guys like Riley
amazing.
Listen, Bouchard's a hell of a talent. We know that.
Absolutely.
The numbers are huge, but I'm waiting interestingly to watch his commitment in his own zone to play hard and defend when it's needed the most.
I don't even know if it would be a lack of commitment as awareness sometimes. Like you may want to do it. I just don't know if that's a strength of his.
Sorry to do a Leaf-centric text during the National Hour, but
it wouldn't be Sammy if you didn't.
This one says, Sammy, loving that new leg room at the Rogers Center, eh? Yes, I am. I'm very excited about that. As a tall man, it's great. Question for everyone. Where are we with the Treliving narrative? Beginning of the year, people couldn't slander his free agency ads fast enough. And now we're ready to say that the vision might have actually been pretty solid. And that's Eric from Barrie.
He caught the ultimate gift with the Klingberg thing.
Boy, did he ever.
That would, you think
No question.
This team would look a lot different if you had to spend 4.5 against the cap on a guy that was, atrocious defensively. So caught a break, but yes, Domi, to me, having an excellent season, looks like a better player. Bertuzzi matters. The depth guys, Gregor's been really good. I think he's done a great job.
Yeah, we didn't see it in probably the first 40 or 50 games. Maybe it took him that long to find a comfort zone or find a rhythm in
Benoit, by the way,
what they were supposed to contribute. Bertuzzi, for me, is still a bit of a
wait and see.
Is it a good or a bad?
Yeah, is it good or bad? Can he score some key goals and be a dog on a bone?
Well, so much of this whole thing hinges on, in the big moments, he's great. Wait till the big moments. He won MVP when his junior hockey team won the championship. He was great for Boston last year. If he's great in the playoffs, you go, he's exactly what you thought he was going to be.
Yeah.
If he isn't, you go, you spent $5.5 million on 20 goals.
Right now, these guys are buying Brad Treliving and Brendan Shanahan some time. And if it falters, if it fails in the first round, it's going to come right back at them.
Yeah.
Right? So you can say that for probably half a dozen teams right now in terms of who advances and who doesn't, and who's disappointed and whose coach is on the hot seat. All of it is coming after the first round.
Kent from Hamilton wants to know when Kyper will have his first 3-putt of the season. We've already been to Florida, so we've probably got it out of the way.
Probably under the belt.
I had a simulator in a house that I used to own during the pandemic. It was fantastic. The other thing that's saved my game is that you bought that retractable putter up in our office, the putting mat. So
Kyper spends an hour a day talking loudly to
talking
somebody.
calls
just
and rolling putts. So he doesn't 3-putt a lot.
I forget that I have to talk to you every once in a while. I just go to your desk for some chocolates.
Chocolates and golf.
This is an interesting one. Quickly, how do you want to see the refereeing in this season's playoffs? Do you want to see them put the whistle away or clamp down to set a precedent? That's from Al in Summerland, BC.
Yeah. Every time we talk about a precedent being set early, it disappears.
That's what I mean.
The history of our game. And ultimately, I don't think there's too many times that we've crowned a champion that said you don't deserve it because of poor officiating. So that to me is the ultimate pass for the NHL officials, is that when we see a team lift a Stanley Cup, no one's sitting there going they were undeserving because of poor officiating.
No, but there is, the way penalties are called in the playoffs are typically there's a spike in game 1, 2, whatever, early in the series. They set the tone or whatever, and you'll watch penalties per game go down around games 4, 5, 6, 7. And statistically, it does check out. That's not opinion.
Except for a meaningless pick play in Game 7 against the Leafs.
Justin Hall's pick. Yes, that was very illegal.
Wes was pretty quick to throw the hand up for that one.
Was it Wes?
No, I don't even know. I was going to throw Wes under the bus. I know he listens, so take that one, Wes.
Let it go, Sammy. Let it go.
Never.
But yeah, so it's very typical how refereeing ages, and also it goes down towards the bigger series. So Game 7 of a Stanley Cup final, good luck getting a call.
I much prefer it that way. I would much prefer last night there was all those penalties in the Leafs Lightning game, and I'm like, this feels like the game 1 of the first round here.
Now, Leafs fans, who they've typically had a good power play, have complained that the Leafs don't get as many calls in the postseason, which they rely on getting because they have that great power play. Power play isn't great in the playoffs in the past, but that's playoffs, man. Never changes.
Yep. That's it.
All right.
Good text today, guys.
Quality text today. Shout out Summerland. Lovely place in the Okanagan.
Sounds great. Summerland is
between Kelowna and Penticton. It's
beautiful.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Tonight.
All right. What do you like tonight?
I like the New York Islanders to defeat the Columbus Blue Jackets. They won't delete them, but maybe they should. I like that one. And then Pittsburgh to beat Washington. You got the Tampa Bay as a back-to-back there at Montreal. Carolina has Boston, Florida, Ottawa.
I don't know. Carolina's sleepy.
I really am looking forward in the year 2024 to Sid versus Ovi.
I know.
Something I didn't expect earlier this season, where they were both horrible and neither of them look like they're going to make the playoffs. This is rounded into a classic matchup here where two teams that aren't great, but two superstars, aging superstars though.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
LA will make the playoffs.
Yeah.
But do you see them making any noise?
No, because the top of that, you're looking at, Dallas probably is an opening round matchup.
Yeah, I don't like them in that series.
Big game tonight, too, though, is Winnipeg getting a win over Calgary. They could still catch the Avs. They play the Avs once. They're 4 points back, so I would love to see Winnipeg roll over Calgary tonight.
Our thanks to Jim Ralph in our opening hour of the Real Kyper and Bourne show, and then Mike Rupp as he gets set for the marquee game of the night.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh versus Washington. We are off tomorrow. Are we back Monday? What time Monday?
Monday, 2 to 4 Eastern. So if you're watching us live on TV or listening to us on the radio, that's when we'll be on.
If you get a chance, give us a rating and review. We'd love to hear from you. Have a great weekend. That's starting now for us.
Woohoo!